First, let's look at customer service. Let's try and keep this simple. We have some tickets from 2019 which we need to extend. Universal replied, when you come back, bring ID and old tickets, collect your new tickets. Simple. Disney, how long do we have? 6 months of department switching via phone and email. Disney saying contact the place where you bought the tickets from, and the place I bought the tickets from saying you've already exchanged the vouchers into tickets, go to Disney. After 6 months of arguing, Disney got a special department to extend the tickets for a year. They realised it was their product, not a voucher, and therefore they can extend the tickets. Unfortunately, after that, COVID struck. The world was in lockdown for 2 years. During each of those years, we argued for about 3 to 4 months. Same thing, same department switching, but because of the COVID lockdown, eventually Disney extended the tickets. But in 2022, we weren't getting any support from Disney, so we decided to use the tickets. However, even after finalising our travel and arriving in Florida, we were still getting emails saying, contact where you got the tickets from. So the replies we got from Disney after we contacted them basically took us straight back to square one. But wait, there's more. Whilst planning for the trip, things had changed. In summary, Blizzard Beach is closed. Fast passes gone. Need to make extra reservations. Can only hop to one park per day, if there's availability. Just a few of the things we noticed. What does that mean? Paid for 6 parks, only got use of 5. I'll explain fast passes a bit later, but it's basically a fast track queue system already included in the tickets. Now you don't get them. Even with the park tickets, you now need to reserve a park before you can go to it. If it's full, you can't reserve it and therefore can't go. Before, you could hop to any park at any time. Now, you can hop to one park after 2 o'clock if there's availability. There's lots of other minor things, but those were the major ones. Disney's changed over the past few years. We sent an email to Disney explaining these issues. About a couple of weeks later, we got a reply from the executive correspondence team. In his email, he said, I have been forwarded your email and I invite you to call me. About a week or 2 later, we still haven't called him. He followed up with an email saying he really wants to talk to us. When we finally did call him, he said, quote, so I've seen your email about Blizzard Beach and a bunch of other stuff. I'm really sorry about that, but we're not doing anything about it. If you have any other concerns, let me know. My dad explained the issues and how this was disappointing. He replied, I'm sorry, but we're not doing anything about it. If you have any other concerns, let me know. By this time we realised he's not actually listening, he's just ticking a box. Why couldn't he have just dropped that in the email? During the pandemic, we did reach out to Universal to extend the tickets again. They replied with, that's fine, whenever you come back, get your new tickets. Because we were having trouble with Disney, we did reach out to Universal in 2022 to find out when the offer of new tickets expires. They replied with, there is no expiry date, whenever you come back, you can get your new tickets. So you can see here the contrast in customer service in Disney and in Universal, and in my opinion, there is one clear winner. That was a really simplified version of Disney, and I made it sound a lot less painful than it actually was. There is something else about customer service in Disney, but I'll cover that in a later section. But for now, let's move on swiftly with the rides. Let's start off with Universal's ride. Universal seems to cater for all ages, with large roller coasters for thrill seekers, medium roller coasters that aren't as fast and crazy, and small rides and themes for the kids. Personally, I enjoy the large roller coasters more. Some examples of these are Doctor Doom's Fearful, which is essentially the dropper they have there, which accelerates you up and allows you to stay weightless for quite a long time. The next one is the Hulk coaster, which has 7 inversions. Then you've got their newest ride, Velocicoaster, with 4 inversions but an incredible top speed. And then you've got Riptide Rocket, which only has 1 inversion, which has the brilliant idea of letting you choose some music and let you listen to it as you go vertically up. Next up, Disney. Unfortunately at Disney, the large coasters there aren't as thrilling as the Universals, and they seem to focus more on the younger riders. Some of my favourite rides at Disney are Mission Space, which is essentially a simulation for going into space. I would avoid this one if you're claustrophobic, however. Another good ride is Tower of Terror at Hollywood Studios. It has similarities to Universal's Doctor Doom's Fearful, and also has a bit more of a theme before you get onto the ride. The difference is that Universal's Doctor Doom's Fearful is out in the open, but Tower of Terror is enclosed in the dark. And the other one is Rock and Roller Coaster, which shoots you at incredible top speeds, and I just really love this ride. It might be dark, but it's still really good. Water rides at theme parks. Universal has two main water rides at their theme parks, which are both in Toon Lagoon in Islands of Adventure. The first one is called Popeye and Pluto's Blythe Rat Barges, and the other one is called Dudley Do-Right Ripsaw Falls. Both of these rides get you very wet, so bring a change of clothes if you're planning to do them. Disney also has two main water rides, Splash Mountain and Kali River Rapids. However, both of these do not get you as wet as Universal's rides, but they're still quite fun. Both Disney and Universal allow filming around the park, but Disney can be a little bit funny with selfie sticks. I assume that's because they don't want it hitting anyone whilst it's extended out. Disney allows filming on most of their rides, however Universal does not allow filming on any rides. I found out this is because of a previous incident that happened, which means you're not allowed to carry anything onto any rides anymore. All of your stuff has to either be given to someone who's not riding, or put into lockers, which are free for the duration of the ride. They do have metal detectors as you walk into the queue. This meant, unfortunately, I could not film on any of Universal's rides. Universal's policies get even stranger in water parks, which is what we're moving on to next. First, let's start off with Disney's water parks. As mentioned previously, Blizzard Beach is closed for refurbishment, which meant we only have one park to go to, which was Typhoon Lagoon. Typhoon Lagoon is famous for its 6-foot tall wave pool. If you learnt how to ride the wave properly, it was an amazing thing to do. Typhoon Lagoon also has some other rides around there, such as Misadventure Falls, Keyhole Falls, Crush and Gusher, and a few others. But all in all, the experience of water parks with Disney was good, apart from the fact that Blizzard Beach was closed. And also the time we got stuck on Misadventure Falls, of course.
What's going on?
What's going on? Huh?
Oh, no. Universal only has one water park, called Volcano Bay. The wave pool of Volcano Bay is not like Typhoon Lagoon. Typhoon Lagoon has very large waves that happen every so often. Volcano Bay has small continuous waves that are on for 15 minutes and then off for another 15 minutes. But the waves always seem to start at Volcano Bay after this strange ritual.
What's going on? I don't know.
The rides here are for all ages, so the entire family has something to do there. My favourite ride was called Krakatoa, which was essentially a roller coaster on water that took you through the volcano. Now, it won't be surprising to you that I couldn't film on any rides at Volcano Bay, but what I'm about to tell you is pretty weird. Now I'm sure you've all seen those GoPro mounts you can get, sometimes for your wrist, sometimes for your chest, and you can mount it to yourself in any way, shape or form, and these are generally very, very secure, but these are not allowed on any rides at Volcano Bay. However, what you are allowed are those cheap lanyards you can get with a waterproof case for your phone. Those are allowed. The hook you see there for your lanyard is not very secure, and if that fails, it could lead to another incident. This rule made zero sense to us. So when my dad was going on to a ride with me at Volcano Bay once, my dad asked a staff member about the reasoning behind this rule, and she got a little bit aggressive instead of admitting she didn't actually know. It got so bad at one point that we'd just been filming in the lazy river previously, and we'd taken the lazy river from our stuff to the other side of the park to do a ride there. When we tried to scan ourselves in for the ride using our tapu, I'll explain that in the queuing part, the staff member there noticed there was something in my dad's pocket and asked, "Is that a GoPro in your pocket? If it is, I can't let you on the ride with that." My dad hadn't even been planning to film on the ride, he just had it in his pocket, all zipped up and everything. Even after we explained this, the staff member made us run all the way to the other side of the park to put our GoPro away, and then run all the way back to the ride just to get onto it. It was quite annoying. So Universal, I know you've had some issues in the past, but just want to understand why something made for extreme sports can't get through, but something that's made for general use can. Now, to anyone wondering why I didn't use a lanyard, I'll tell you now that I did actually try to use a lanyard, and it didn't end too well. I had just had my lanyard on in the rapid river, which is a lot more exhilarating than the lazy river, but it sweeps you around and it's quite hard to keep yourself in a certain orientation. So the lanyard got fully submerged and water leaked in, so my phone was out of action for the rest of the holiday. I did use the GoPro in the rapid river, however, and that seemed to do just fine. I think that's a perfect example of why something for extreme sports can be used on water rides, but something made for general use can't. First up, Disney. Disney had something called Fast Passes back in 2019, which was a free service anyone with a ticket could use. Each person got given 3 Fast Passes, and they were able to use that to book fast track slots for different rides. This meant you could get on at least 3 rides per day, but that was only if the rides didn't break down. Now, however, Disney has scrapped Fast Passes and they've been replaced with something called Lightning Lane, which is essentially just a paid version of Fast Passes. Lightning Lane was released in conjunction with something called Disney Genie Plus. I've got no idea what that is. I think it's meant to be something to help you plan your day, but we never really used it. We already had a set idea of what we wanted to do for each day. This means more of your day is spent queuing up, and if the ride breaks down, well... So the ride's been stopped for the past nearly hour now, and they've just shut the ride down. You have 2 main options. Either you wait in the queue and hope the ride reopens soon, or leave the queue and rejoin it when the ride reopens, which means you have to queue up for the entire time again. One particularly bad case of this was when we were on the cart, the test track, and the ride got shut down due to bad weather. We got called off the cart and put back into the queue, when secretly they just wanted us out of the queue and wanted us to rejoin. Some other people who were in a similar situation as to us complained about this, said it was wrong, and that we should be given some sort of compensation to allow us to join the queue in a similar position to what we were in. And just like that, the staff member scanned our tickets and must have put a lightning lane on there, because that's what we saw when we looked on the app. So Disney, you seem to be able to implement something to help with the breakdowns. I recommend you do. Disney had something called a virtual queue for their newest ride, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. You could try and get yourself a slot at 7 AM in the morning, which is very early, or 1 PM in the evening. Issue with these was it happened at 7 AM and at 1 PM. So if you didn't get in at those times, you were basically not going to get a slot at all. And even if you did get a slot, the queue times could be absolutely horrendous. One time we got onto it, it was 7 hours long. After those 7 hours, we got a message saying that they couldn't even accommodate us, which made those 7 hours wasted. So we went to guest relations at Epcot to ask about virtual queue and understand a few more bits about it, and just to ask if we were doing anything wrong, because we just didn't seem to be able to get onto the virtual queue. When I asked if I could film it for you guys, the lady that we were talking to was quite immediate when she said, "No, I don't want you filming me." So all in all, my experience with the virtual queue was quite poor, but now let's move on to Universal. Next, Universal. Universal has always had something called Universal Express Passes, which is essentially just a paid fast track queue. However, unlike Disney, we seem to be able to do more rides per day at Universal than Disney. If the ride breaks down at Universal, which did happen to us once, the staff was kind enough to give us one of these fast track tickets for us to use at other attractions. However, Universal's queue system is different at its water park's Volcano Bay. Volcano Bay has a service called Tapu Tapu, which is essentially a band everyone gets given to allow them to tap into virtual queues. This means you can do other stuff around the park whilst you're waiting to go on a ride. One issue with this, however, is that you can only tap into one ride at a time, which means you can only enjoy the wave pool, which gets boring after a certain amount of time, and rides that say ride now because they have no queue whatsoever. My suggestion for this to Universal would be to allow maybe 3 rides at a time and just make sure that the rides aren't going to be going on at the same time. So just to wrap up, here's a few things Disney could improve on. First thing being, bring back fast passes because the queue times can be really annoying, and so can the breakdowns. Next thing is remove the park hopper limit and park hopper reservations. And the final thing, which is definitely a big issue, is the customer service issues we had. Because as I talked about earlier, we definitely had a bad experience with that. And to conclude with Universal. So my little message to Disney would be that I could do with complimentary tickets for our family because 2022 was absolutely horrendous. You made us use a ticket, and then we had a appalling experience at Disney itself. I only have one main issue with Universal, and that's to allow filming on rides. I think you guys took that whole incident you had a little bit over the top. I think the GoPros nowadays are definitely a lot more secure, and they should be allowed on rides. If they're good enough for extreme sports, then I guess they should be okay for roller coasters. At least a lot better than just cheap lanyards for water rides. Apart from that, you guys are doing a good job. So the overall winner, in my opinion, for this video is Universal. Well done, guys. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.